And we are recording. And here comes the intro. It's time for Clubhouse Chatter. Here's your host, Norm Ordez.
Hey, that's right. I am Norm. This is Clubhouse Chatter live from the beautiful Erickson Studios up in the Eola Hills outside Amity, Oregon, where it is cloudy. No rain, but we got clouds. So my first guest this morning is a writer, and you're from Providence, Rhode Island, correct?
Yep, I live in Providence.
And this man was born with a beard, by the way. He is the bearded writer. And Lucas Mann. Lucas, how you doing this morning?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So is it true you were born with a beard?
Sadly, no. I think I'm only just growing into my beard too late, but I
was reading something on where it was kind of plugging you as a writer with the beard. It was kind of funny.
Yeah.
And so Lucas wrote a book called Class A, Baseball in the Middle of Everywhere. And what prompted you to write the book?
I went to graduate school for writing in Iowa, and so I was surrounded by the Midwest League and loved baseball. Grew up playing baseball, played in high school, a tiny bit in college, and so it just started from a place of this would be interesting to check out. I wonder if I could get some good stories.
Nice. And so where did you go to school?
I went to the University of Iowa.
Okay.
And Clinton, the town that I ended up writing about, is just about an hour and 10 minutes or so east of there.
Right, and Clinton's home to the Lumber Kings, I believe, correct?
Yep, yeah, the Clinton Lumber Kings.
So you wrote about. So the book is about the Midwest League.
Sorry, go ahead.
Did you have a favorite stop in the Midwest League?
I mean, Clinton itself was just such a fascinating place, and I think as much as anything, the book's about that town, and it's about the players on that 2010 team, but it's also sort of unexpectedly, it became a lot about the history of the town and also the fans. For my money, watching a game with the really long-time fans in Clinton is about the best way to watch a baseball game that you can find in the world.
And now, who is a Clinton? Who are they affiliated with these days?
They're the Mariners, and they were the Mariners when I was there as well.
Okay, all right. So, did you see anybody special coming up through when you were there?
Yeah, a couple of the guys that featured prominently in the book. Actually, that team that I was watching had an incredible amount of talent on it, which was just sort of lucky happenstance. But the real star of the team when I was there was Nick Franklin, who is sort of right now, I think he's on the Major League squad and in the process of breaking through, although Robinson Cano is there. And Erasmo Ramirez was a guy I got to know really well, and he made the Mariners rotation. It's kind of amazing to see 4 years later some of these guys have moved up the way that they hoped to. Right.
And so talk a little bit about baseball in Clinton. I mean, how big of a deal is it in Clinton? And, what are the fans like?
I think I imagine that this is similar in minor league towns in general. It's an incredibly big deal for the people that it's a big deal for. And then I would say that most of the town, especially, a town like Clinton has been shrinking for a long time and is struggling in a lot of ways. So I think the baseball field for a lot of people in town is just sort of this thing that's always been there that they don't think about. But then there's that group of really, really just hardcore fans who have been sitting in the same seats for decades, and for them it's a huge part of the identity of the place where they're from and the people that they know and the history that they belong to.
Right. And so the Midwest League, so what can you tell us about the Midwest League? Like, how old is it? I know they've been around for quite a while.
The Midwest League's been around forever, ever since there was the thing that was called Class D ball, and has sort of changed. Different towns and different teams have changed affiliations. Clinton is a town that has a lot of history in itself and has been continuously having a team in the Midwest League since the beginning, which I think it might be the only continuously running Midwest League town. And I think like a lot of minor leagues, the Midwest League has sort of gradually transitioned to bigger cities and moved farther east. So there were teams in smaller towns in Iowa and Illinois and in Wisconsin, and some of those teams have moved to, Dayton and bigger cities moving farther east into Ohio and Indiana and even northern Kentucky. So Clinton is by far, I think, the biggest holdout of history. It's a town, I think at this point only has 26,000 people, but they have kept this team, and they're playing in the same stadium that they always played in from the very beginning.
Right. That's pretty cool. I definitely can't wait to check out your book. So now you, last week we had Garrett Brushhouse on, and Garrett is a former Giants farmhand pitcher who retired and is now an attorney, and he is part of the group behind the lawsuit versus Major League Baseball on behalf of unfair wages for minor league players.
Right.
You wrote an article for Slate for Slate.com. Tell us a little bit about that.
So yeah, I saw articles about Garrett and about the other folks in the suit, other places, and was just really pleasantly surprised to see that this was happening, and realized that while I'm no legal expert, it's actually something that I, in spending a lot of time around minor league players, I felt like I could actually say something to corroborate the kind of wages and the kind of difficult lives that they have. The kind of work that Garrett's doing, I think, is amazing.
It is. And, being a former clubhouse manager, so I've been in the clubhouses, and I've seen, the aspects of the minor league. It's definitely not an easy gig. I mean, you're getting paid crap, and, you're eating like crap, and just for a goal to get to the major leagues and get that big paycheck. And it's, it fascinates me that people are just blinded by what they see with the major leaguers. But, they don't look at the minor league guys and the struggle. And I have known some great baseball players that have had to give it up because of finances.
Yeah, it becomes, I think, especially if you're stuck in the lower rungs, like where Clinton is for up into your mid-20s, that Class A salary is not something that you can live on. And, this, a lot of these guys have kids at a certain point or are trying to support other members of their family, and it's just really impossible.
It's a grind. It really is. I can't remember what, when you break it down, especially for like somebody at the Class A level like Clinton, you break it down, it's like less than $4 an hour, I believe.
It's got to be
insane. Yeah. So what was your favorite part about writing the book? Do you have a favorite part about it?
It was just such a completely unique experience in itself. A lot of times, to be honest, it felt like a grind for me, just because when you're there and when you're following it, you're kind of mimicking that minor league lifestyle, and you realize just how constant and how exhausting it is. But it just sort of, at a certain point, to be part of that community, whether it was with the players or also watching the games with the same fans every night, you start to get into that rhythm of the baseball season, and you see the same people, everybody goes through the same routines, and it just sort of hits that stride of feeling really just sort of nice and comforting and like you're a part of something. And I think as the season built, I hadn't expected that feeling, but it became more and more apparent. And I think that's something that's just really unique to a baseball season.
Right. So growing up, you played baseball, and you said you played a little bit of college ball?
Yeah, I was a really bad Division III relief pitcher for a couple of years.
And where'd you play at D3 ball at?
Vassar College in New York.
Okay. All right. So we have a D3 program here in McMinnville, Linfield College. I think they're ranked number 1 right now.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
Scott Brocious is the head coach out here, so former Yankee.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, it's kind of funny. When I was getting ready to interview Garrett, a friend of mine from Sports Station. He works with John Canzano up in Portland. Pork Chop. I was telling him about this article on Slate.com, and so I ended up sending him your article, and he goes, "Oh yeah," he goes, "Lucas would be a great interview for you." And I'm like, "Lucas? Who in the heck is Lucas?" And I didn't realize you had written the article until Pork Chop had come back to me, and he's like, "Dude, you're an idiot. He wrote the Slate article." And I'm like, "Oh." So I'm glad Pork Chop definitely suggested, and we'd love to have you come on the show again some other time. Is there any other plans for another book soon, baseball book?
There's plans for more books, but I think for me, I'm not a sports writer. I'm just a writer who loves baseball and got really, really lucky in a situation. So I think I might just be going back to actually watching baseball as a fan for a while.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, right.
So once again, Lucas Cook, Class A, baseball in the middle of everywhere. Check it out. Also, he wrote an article for Slate.com on the lawsuit for Major League Baseball. And Lucas, thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
And not a problem. You have a great day.
You too.
So once again, Lucas Cook, Lucas Mann. Lucas Cook is actually a kid who works for me with the Parks and Recreation. So, Lucas Mann, baseball, Class A baseball in the middle of everywhere. Check it out, lucasmann.com. I'd like to thank my sponsors, Baseballism, and we do have a Baseballism code again. And so here is one of the shirts, baseballism.com. All right. And the code is Clubhouse Chatter. Type in Clubhouse Chatter, and you get 15% off of their swag. Also, Baseball Dudes, who is on the hat, the lefty. Baseball Dudes, Chris Gazelle up there in Vancouver, Washington. Carlos and the boys at Proper Cuts Barber Shop up on Baker Street. And MDM Designs, Mark Canham, who does our shirts, our sweatshirts and shirts. And his son, Mitch Canham with Base by Pros. I also want to give a shout out to Hannah. This here is my bacon hat from the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. So a little bit unique. I never did check see if it was a scratch and sniff. I guess they got shirts that are scratch and sniffs. So thank you, Hannah and the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. I'm Norm, and we will be back.